Good evening, everybody. I would like to now call this meeting to order. Thank you to those attending in person tonight and those staying engaged by watching our meeting at a later time. The public is reminded that if they wish to speak during community comment, they will need to fill out a speaker form located in the lobby on the table and turn it in to Board Secretary Kim Colvin, seated at the end on my left. Comments will take place during the designated community comment portion of our agenda. Before we dive into tonight's agenda, I want to take a moment and introduce those seated at the table with me. To my right is Superintendent Matt Degner, Directors Pilcher Hyatt, Eastham, and Vice President Williams. To my left, we have Directors Abraham, Clausen, and Finch, along with Board Secretary Colvin. And with that, we will move into tonight's agenda. First up, community comment, but it looks like we do not have any. So I will move on to approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Board Secretary Colvin, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open.
I'm a yay vote, Kim. I'm still getting logged in.
I'm a yay too.
Thank you, Director Pilcher-Hayek. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. And up next is our consent agenda, but before we dive into that, I wanted to check to see if anybody had any questions about this cycle of bills that they wanted to share at the table. Seeing none, I would ask if there's any items that people would like to pull from the consent agenda. Hearing none, I would call for a motion.
I move that we approve all items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Board Secretary Colvin, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up, we have a couple of public hearings, and the first one is Twain's restroom remodel project, and I will turn it over to Vice President Williams.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the proposed plans and specifications for the Twain Elementary restroom remodel project. The Board of Directors set the date for this public hearing on May 23, 2023. Notice of public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on May 24, 2023. The district will receive bids on this project at 2:00 p.m. on June 14, 2023 at the Facilities Management Conference Center, 1137 South Riverside Drive, Iowa City, Iowa. Notice to contractors was published as required by law in multiple statewide plan rooms and on the Iowa City Community School District website on May 24, 2023. Are there any questions from the board? Are there any questions from the public?
Okay, we will close that public hearing, and next up is the West High Phase 3 Edition public hearing.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the proposed plans and specifications for the West High Phase 3 Addition project. The Board of Directors set the date for this public hearing on May 23, 2023. Notice of public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on May 24, 2023. The district will receive bids on this project at 2:00 p.m. June 28, 2023 at the Facilities Management Conference Center, 1137 South Riverside Drive, Iowa City, Iowa. Notice to contractors was published as required by law in multiple statewide plan rooms and on the Iowa City Community School District website on May 24, 2023. Are there any questions from the board? Are there any questions from the public?
And we will close tonight's public hearings. Next up is policy review, and we have the 900 series as well as the policy primers. I believe this is both the third time because we'll be voting on it later tonight. And Director Finch, I know you chair that committee. I didn't know if you had additional comments you wanted to make.
No, I listened to the last P&G meeting while I was overseas, and it sounds like you had a robust discussion about advertising and promotion in the district. I'm going to defer to Director Williams because she chaired that committee that night in my absence.
Nope, I think we've talked about it twice now at public meetings from the board table and twice at P&G, so I don't have anything to add.
Are there any additional comments from other board members? Hearing none, we will move on to our only presentation tonight, and it's our annual asset protection report. And I believe I will kick it to Mr. Finger.
Thank you, President Malone. The report is in the same format as you have seen in prior years. Just a couple things that I would alert you to. Number one, in all of the employee benefits, we're able to keep all of our premiums flat except for a $1 increase on the dental, but no changes in coverage, deductibles, or anything like that for any of the premiums. So that's really good news for both the district and for the employees. On the property and casualty, you will see increases, and that's just due to the market conditions. We're still in a hard market for all of those. The underwriters are using projection models and saying that Iowa is in the wind and hail corridor, not like what they used to think of Kansas and for tornadoes. And so if that makes sense if you think about all of the storms we've had and some of the damages that we've had across the state over the last couple of years. And so that's the new modeling, and so that's what causes some of the increases. The only other thing is if you look at the cyber coverage at the back, the district does have the appropriate cyber coverage there. Limits and those things are not provided because that provides the hackers additional information, and we've gotten it legal, and our insurance advisors have recommended that you don't provide that information in there. And that came as a result of what happened to our neighbors to the north at Cedar Rapids and Linn-Mar when the media jumped on those, and so we got that information from that. So we do have that coverage, and we've worked very closely with Adam's team to put in all of those safeguards that you can put in the school district, and so I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that we do have those coverages.
Thank you so much. Were there any questions or comments from other directors tonight? Okay, hearing none, thank you. Next up is our first discussion item, which is preschool, and Superintendent Degner. I will kick it to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's just been a while since we had touched base on preschool, and I think the question came up during agenda setting at our last meeting about re-engaging the municipalities. I've continued to have some conversations with the city managers in the interim. I know we kind of have this Child Workforce Coalition group, I'm probably getting the name of it wrong, that we've had some representation on, looking at early childhood care in the community, kind of that 0 to 4 age range. And so that work's been ongoing. Our conversations have been ongoing, but I think their question is really the board re-engaging the municipalities in any way, or if you want to direct me to re-engage them in any more kind of a formal way. We did the presentations, and then it's kind of been silent since then as far as any formal action. And I do think, I don't have specifics in front of me, but I do think a couple of the responses we've gotten admit they plan to talk about it in meeting again, but I don't know for sure if that's been agended on any of those municipal government meetings yet. And so I think just kind of looking for some direction from you guys as far as what you see as next steps and how you would like us to pursue that conversation or not pursue that conversation any further.
Directors?
I'm glad we're having an update about it. I'm not sure what more we could do at this moment if we're still waiting. If we have new information to give the municipalities, I'd like you to do that, but I'm not aware of what the new information is. I saw on your liaison report, Director Williams, you had a preschool meeting. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I just informally touched base with some people. I think Iowa City Council is going to put it on their work session at their request. They said that they do need to get back to it and consider. And I said, listen, if you have questions, if you need more information, if there's any, certainly we stand at the ready to provide, the administrative team stands at the ready to provide any information that you need, so please don't hesitate to ask if you need anything. If you want us at the work session, contact Superintendent Degner, invite him. He will go, or he'll send the appropriate people. Just whatever you need, we're here. I certainly don't want them to forget about it. And so I think that you're right. At this point in time, there's not a lot that we can do other than continue to make sure that they don't need anything from us, that we're continuing to engage them and make sure that it stays at the top of their discussion list. Because as we know from the work that we do, it's easy for things to fall off the radar. And given the kind of the time-sensitive nature of this, I just want to make sure that it remains on their radar so that they can act accordingly, however they're going to proceed forward. So I would just say to Matt, to your question, just continue to be in touch with the city council members and the city managers and make sure that, they don't have lingering questions or information that they need from us, and continue to ask them for when they can make a final decision on how they're going to proceed.
So knowing that, I did see on the Black Voices Project minutes that there was a discussion of this matter, and it was referred to as the Lost Campaign. I just want to make sure that, as I voiced previously at our public meetings, that we're all on the same page about what this preschool initiative is about. So if there's a document that we have, a working document about the strategy for preschools that we're providing to cities, I just think and Johnson County and any other entity, to make sure that that messaging is consistent. And that's why I think we want you to make sure you're running that charge, because we've had a history on this particular issue of some confusing messaging.
Yeah, and primarily at that meeting, we did not talk about Lost. I think since some of it, the way that whole conversation started in the community with Lost in preschool, that's what's been front of mind for folks. But there were questions that came up about Lost. There were, I'm trying to remember how we got to that conversation. I think Black Voices Project was expressing an interest about ways they can be supportive of the school district, and we saw Royce Ann here a couple weeks ago, and she came and expressed her support for that. And so we kind of ended up talking about preschool through that, if I'm remembering that correctly. But yeah, we didn't do any presentation. There was, we really just had said we made a request to the municipalities around that. So we've been trying to be tight about that message, because I think we've all agreed it doesn't really, the funding source isn't the important aspect to us. I mean, the request we made was. And so we've continued to try to communicate that. So,
and I might just add, that I think Supervisor Porter was very clear that the supervisors, there's certainly a majority of the supervisors, and a solid one, I think, that want the county to be involved. The funding mechanism is still, I think, somewhat of an open question in many people's minds,
Yeah.
But to me, I'm confident that'll work itself out as we proceed here. So I do agree, Matt, with other people's comments that I tend to gab at supervisors and council members all the time. And I think staying in contact with them, especially the mayors and city managers, is a helpful thing for us to do. So I know it takes your time, but I think that's a good investment.
Yeah, I would agree.
now that makes sense. I mean, I'm sorry, JP, go ahead.
No, I just wonder if, as the conversation moves forward, maybe in the fall, if there was like a too long didn't read version that we could say, here's where we're at, here's where we want to go. Because here's what I think, right, just my perception, is that we went in with an ask for Lost, and then the conversation really got caught up in, well, what about current providers, and that sort of tension between, well, preschool helps fund early childhood. And so just kind of knowing where because I think, whereas I can appreciate other people's concerns, we still have kids who don't have wraparound care. And I think everybody agrees with that. And so if we can be a vehicle to help drive that conversation, great. If we can be a vehicle to support municipalities in their seeking funding, great. But I think the clearer we are with a one-pager or a quick, here's where things are at, that might help us all focus our energies, so that we don't lose the conversation, because I don't want everything to go away. Because if the status quo remains, we still have kids without wraparound care. And that's kind of, I think, the crux of this. I do think we are the best entity to lead this conversation because we touch all the municipalities, the kids. We probably understand better than anyone how important early childhood care and wraparound care is to kids' success in school, which is what we're concerned about. So, I just think as we move forward, just having something quick we can refer to or refer people to even might be helpful. And if that's, something that we do here in the next couple of months, I'm not concerned.
I like
about
that idea. I think we can simplify, basically it's talking about simplifying the message, right? Like, we made this request and what are we trying to do with the request? We can talk to you about the details some more if you want to, but really the request is for wrap care for the kids can access it, right? And, because we can already provide preschool for wherever comes, but this is really being able to give that wrap care for the folks that don't have access to that. Sure. Okay.
Great. All right. Next up is a discussion item related to our board meeting calendar change, and this is for our meetings in July. I believe we're supposed, following our schedule, we're supposed to have our next one on July 11th and the next one July 25th.
Yes.
So the conversation, and Superintendent Degner, you can jump in at any time, is would directors be willing to consider one meeting that month on July 18th due to some significant travel plans and absences that if we did two meetings, our agenda for the 11th would be pretty light to begin with. So why not consolidate and be as effective as possible on July 18th? Did I summarize that, or did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think the other thing to just of note is we did one meeting last July, and so that might not be a conversation for tonight, but it may be a consideration for the future too, is just do we always want to just move to a one meeting month in July? It does seem like travel's in the way for the admin team, the board. Sometimes it's going to be hard to get a significant number of people there for two meetings, and even if we have those two meetings, deciding which topics we should take on with some board members absent, that's a little bit tricky. So, or with our team absent too. So yeah, that's the suggestion, is maybe just do the one meeting on the 18th, and then future consideration would be just, do we want to move to a one meeting month for July?
But for tonight, there is an item action for the one meeting this July,
year.
and
Yes.
we can talk about future meetings. So people can feel free to discuss now, but there is an action item that there'll be opportunity for discussion before a vote, but feel free to chime in now if you want to.
I'll just say if the 18th works for everybody, then that's great, but I will be out of town for that meeting. But I don't want to hold that up from everyone else's travel plans, so count me as a yes if you guys want to do it.
Same. I'll be out of town too on the 18th.
Yeah, I'd take my direction from you. If you think one meeting in July is fine, then I'm fine with that on the 18th. Yep.
All right,
Me too.
okay.
We will have several items that night, so
Yes,
it
it
won't
will
be
not-
like tonight's meeting.
No, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what we signed up for. Next up, we will dive into our action items for tonight, and the first one is resolutions for Series 2023 Save Bonds Paying Agent, Registrar, and Transfer Agent. Before I call for a motion, I wanted to check to see if Superintendent Degner or Director Finger had anything they wanted to add. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the resolution appointing paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent, approval of tax exemption certificate, and authorization of terms of issuance for Save Series 2023 bonds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up is the 900 series policy, which is community relations. Are there any other comments?
I'm only going to comment that I appreciate this process we did this year. This is the first time I think we've had it this streamlined, and then each month we went through each, when I got elected, we couldn't even find all of the they were all over the place in different spots on the website. It was just, you know, a series of adding things on over the years. So this has been, it's just made it a lot easier. I would hope for the public too, to be able to see what we're doing and weigh in on policy, but I know as a board member, it's made it a lot more streamlined and understandable. So thanks to the folks, policy and governance especially,
I
who
think all
made that
credit
happen.
goes to Kim Colvin on that one.
Thank you, Kim.
All right.
And then I move that we approve the 900 series.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is policy primers. Again, I would look to directors to see if they had any additional comments. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve policy primers.
Second.
All right. Board Secretary Coven ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is the superintendent contract. Since I would see if directors had any comments or items for discussion. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the superintendent's contract as presented.
Second?
I'll check again, any further discussion or comments?
So I do have a comment. And I guess we can't talk about performance here. Okay, just, can we say we're doing a great job? No?
I'm
Okay.
sorry?
I'm going to be a no vote tonight on this, and it in no way reflects my opinion of your performance. So we've had this discussion earlier tonight, and I have full confidence in your ability to lead this district. Just given the climate of everything that we've been forced to do over this past 6 months with our $8.5 million budget cut, my one issue is with raising the deferred compensation from 13 to 15%. It's already an outlier, and so I don't see the reason for raising that anymore. So again, this in no way reflects my opinion of the superintendent's performance, but I'm going to be a no vote because I'm just not 100% comfortable with all of the provisions in the contract.
Okay. Any additional comments? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Clausen, Malone, Eastham, Williams, Pilcher, Hayek, and Abraham voting yea, and Director Finch voting nay.
Okay. Next up is the board meeting calendar change, and that will be one meeting on July 18th, 2023. Are there any further discussions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the board meeting calendar change to one meeting in July on July 18th.
Second.
Board Secretary Coven ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is to appoint Mr. Adam Kurth as our treasurer, and if that's successful, I would administer the oath of office. So checking to see if there's any discussion regarding his appointment. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we appoint Adam Kurth as treasurer.
Second.
I will call for any other discussion.
Is he good with numbers?
Okay. Hearing none, Board Secretary Coburn, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
At this time, I will administer the oath of office. Adam, I'm going to make you stand. All right. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board Treasurer in the Iowa City Community School District as now or hereafter required by law?
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations, and we're happy to have you appointed as our new Board Treasurer. We can clap. Okay, that takes us to Director Liaison Reports. I would look to other directors to see if anyone wanted to highlight anything that they took part in this past month. Well, I will. Graduation was awesome, as always. So if any of our buildings watch this and get to this point, thank you for giving our students a great send-off. I thoroughly enjoyed, the 7 graduations we attended? I lost count, 6 graduations we attended. So thank you very much. And that's all I wanted to add. Anybody else?
I would say that graduations were beautiful, and it makes, it just reminds you of all the great things that public education is doing. They're moving. Those ceremonies are moving. I never thought I would like going to graduations. It was just beautiful to see our student bodies and our leaders, our building leaders. It was just a beautiful experience, just as it was last year for me. I would also just mention that I did do stuff, and I don't know why it's not on there. I thought I sent it to you. But maybe next time. Just for the record, sometimes we don't list everything. But
Hey.
I did the stuff.
Yes.
So, in summary.
Next time, we'll put too many things to name.
Right.
We believe you, yeah. I only attended 2 graduation ceremonies this year because I was out of town, but it's just the highlight of the year, as it should be, yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Anything else?
And
Director Easton?
I was dearly overwhelmed with the ceremony I attended. It was at City High, by the enthusiasm of the students as they celebrated their completion of their public school education. It's just remarkable to see them that enthusiastic, that happy, and that energized. So.
Agreed. All right. Last up is our agenda setting for the meeting on 6/27. So we have the standard items and our equity update, which is a standing item for the second meeting of the month. And I will check with directors to see if there's any parking lot items we should consider, or Superintendent Degner, what were you all thinking?
So in the parking lot, we've had equitable grading practices, and I was thinking that might go well with our equity update for next month. So we'd like to bring you that one. A couple of the others, I probably still want to talk to the team about. We need to do some FMP work here over the summer, whether that's the next meeting or the one in July. Director Pilcher-Hayek had the question about, were you math? No, you weren't math. You were equitable grading
That was
practices.
Director
Director
Finch,
Finch
I
had a
think.
question about math. So we still need to come back to math as well. We want to do a Green Ribbon Schools presentation. Those are kind of the top 4 right now. So I think for sure we'll look at the equitable grading practices through the equity update, and the others I'll talk to the team about, and then when I meet with the president and vice president, we'll see if we're ready to go with some of those other parking lot. And I forgot to say out loud the SAVE funds. That was another one. We remember from those SAVE scholarships going away, we wanted to get you some information on that. I've been delaying that one because we're still engaged with neighborhood centers of Johnson County, for example, about a grant we're going after. So I'd like to be able to provide you some more information when we feel good about that process. So those are all in your board update and the parking lot items. So if there's something in particular you guys want to hear first or not be absent for, please communicate that to me tonight, or, anytime through email too is helpful.
I wonder if we could get, and maybe this already exists, Kristen, so my bad if it does, just like the basic updates about current projects that are happening in the FMP, just for people to look at this summer, because I understand if we don't have a comprehensive presentation over the summer about everything happening with the FMP. But, you know, if you're about to send your kid to Southeast or something like that, you're gonna be like, huh, why does it look like that right now? Just maybe something on the website if we can't hit it in a summer meeting.
Oh, I see what you mean. So put something online instead of the meeting presentation might be
Yeah,
more helpful.
just
Yeah.
so we do have a place where
Like
people,
a
a touch
project's
point.
underway type thing.
Yeah, yeah, just because a
That's
lot of
good,
people are
yeah.
gonna be looking at going to school in the fall at new schools, meaning, you know, for the first time, they're gonna be in junior high. So it's nice if they can look it up and see what parking they may have to deal with and construction they may have to deal with, things like that.
Projected completion dates,
Yeah.
things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, exactly. Like the tennis courts at City, I don't know if we have dates for that, but even if it can be said, waiting to hear from, you know, contractor, because I'm sure it's not easy to book somebody to come back in and do that. But, you know, the stuff on my side of town is that's what I'm mentioning because that's what we see, so.
I did notice there's a sign up at Northwest Junior High, and there probably are signs at the other junior highs as well, that,
Yeah,
explaining
our
what the,
progress.
why the ground is dug up, and, yeah.
yeah.
So that's good. I was glad to see that.
And then as far as, we discussed a parking lot item, and I don't remember if we have it for an agenda item or a meeting, and, but we're gonna revisit our norms. And I'd like to push that, as soon as possible.
We did talk about that, and I think it was going to be something we were going to do in policy and governance.
Right, the first meeting of the
Yeah.
of the
Okay.
fall, yeah.
When does that fall then? Is that when we're back at
That's-
school?
Yep, back in school. Policy and governance only meet during the academic year.
Okay. All right.
I wonder, Matt, what's your plan on a middle school model update for us? Because that's what I am getting lots and lots of questions from people about. And I know that you all gave us a very brief overview of maybe, I think Lucas, you gave it to us, of what it might look like. And it may not be for the summer, but maybe in a couple of months if we could get that update.
Yeah, I think for us, and I probably haven't even shared this with the team yet, but as I think about next year, some of those things starting in the fall of '24, it'd probably just be good to do some recurring touch points throughout the school year on those items. For example, middle school, right? I think that should just be one that comes back to us on a somewhat regular cadence throughout the year. So we could start that even in August, you know, start something there in August and then come back to it again before winter break and touch on it again in the spring. So, yep.
That would be great. Sounds like there was a lot of items to consider. Oh, Director Easton?
Well, this is not necessarily, I'm not necessarily asking for this to happen at the June 27th meeting, but as we can, the more we can continue to say about formulating a response to this year's legislation from the state, I still think it's important for us to still communicate that as frequently as possible.
Did you see, though, that that's going to be tricky because the Board of Education spokesperson said they will not be providing guidelines on a lot of these things, just won't provide. They asked us to seek counsel.
Somehow that's not surprising, but,
That was the spokesperson's language that was
yeah. right.
given.
And we're hearing the turnaround from the Department of Ed is going to be less than underwhelming. So my fear is we're going to be starting the year with, you know, best guidance that we can get from legal counsel and still waiting on some rules before we start the year. So that'll be something we have to navigate here over the next couple months about how to well position our staff and students at the start of the year. But I don't think that's all going to be ready to go.
So, you know, we might not have real detailed guidance, but I think we could put out a statement or two about some of our beliefs in protecting kids, our beliefs in not altering history. I mean, I think we can do something that's not, you know, it's this fine line. Obviously, we have to obey the law, and we can't tell our teachers what to do. I know that I'm a teacher, and I'm not going to out a kid. Like, that's my personal feeling, and I won't do it. And if they want to go after my license, but I won't, as a board member, suggest that we do that as a district. I just know where I'm going to stand, so I think that at some point, if we just we need to take a stance on just our feelings.
So I wonder if the vehicle to do that might be a board resolution, because that's us saying things instead of the admin team, and I wonder if that would give us greater flexibility to express our beliefs without jeopardizing the employee and staff in the district.
And I'd be fine with that too, and I'd be happy to work on.
Too, and I think
Something-
that's a responsible thing, as my belief as a board member, for the board to take.
Because it's, the rubber's gonna hit the road, and legally, there's gonna be very important guidance. My guess would be they don't wanna tell us because they don't know, and they'll wait for something to happen and then be very reactive. That would just be my gut feeling, is they just wanna be reactive and find something that gets them headlines and deal with it. And that's nothing we can bank on or tell our staff. So I wanna be very protective of our staff. And at the same time, I believe we owe it to our families to let them know that we have their back. And that despite the legal landscape, all kids are welcome in this district. And and if it's a board statement, I'd be fine with that. And it's, the teaching stuff is important as well, to say we're not gonna make things up, we're not gonna whitewash history any more than we have, I don't want to get, it's a dicey area, but at the same time, I think we, as a board, probably have some pretty strong beliefs about where this is going and where it's coming from. And I think if we can find a way to thread that needle to address the spirit of this hateful law, even if we don't have details on the letter of this hateful laws, we certainly owe it to our families. And I get where we've been up until this point. Because we don't want to put people at jeopardy. And I don't think the public fully realizes how in jeopardy people's licenses are and how real that could be. And I think when I talk to people about that and I mention that, most people are like, oh, we didn't think it was that bad. Oh, it's that bad. So I just think, again, and again, when we make that statement, I want our families to see that, and it's kind of a separate thing, but on the green ribbon, I think we should, when we do a celebration for that, it should be when we have the most eyeballs on us, because it's a big deal, and that's something I think I want to make sure that we get a lot of attention drawn to. But those are my thoughts on that.
Maybe that's something for the first meeting in August, so that way we can make sure families don't miss it leading up to it, and we can go from there.
Okay,
All right.
great.
I'm checking one more time, making sure everybody feels good about the June 27th meeting. That takes us to adjournment. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.